celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. This is Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Live on tape from Bolero Roswell in Roswell, Georgia, just a few miles up the road from Atlanta. This is Coach Randy, welcoming you to episode 91 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. March Madness, April Badness. You know, we started the day with 7 kids, so I pressed one more, let's call him a big kid. Well, he's a really big kid, with whiskers, and not exactly a full head of hair either. Well, we pressed him into action to fill out the field into a nice even 8, so we could finish out the month of March and kick off April with a bracketed competition. The players bowled one game of qualifying to seed themselves into the bracket, and here's how they shook out. Our 8th seed today is Hayes Gabriel. He bowled a 173 in his qualifying game. The 7th seed is Nolan Kent, who fired a 183 in his qualifying game. The 6th seed is Big Logan Mathis, who shot a steady 191 game in qualifying. The 5 seed is Hunter Moffitt. That's right, the bigs and littles all competed in one scratch group. Hunter and Big Logan tied at 191, and Hunter grabbed the higher seed in a roll-off with Logan, 9-7. The 4 seed is Rick Haley, who shot a 212 game in qualifying. Now, if he looks a little old for our crowd, he is. He's the father of our 3 seed today, Garrett Haley, who edged his old man by a single pin with a 213 in qualifying. They would love to meet each other on the show today. We'll see if that happens. The number 2 seed, as you saw at the top of the show, is Rowand Saunter, who finished his qualifying game with a 5-bagger and shot 222. The only player who threw a higher game was our number 1 seed, Christian Manel, who rolled a 236 in qualifying. That's our field today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Today we will progress through the bracket with the number 8 bowler competing against the number 1 bowler, the number 7 bowler against the number 2 bowler, 6 against 3, and 5 against 4, although not necessarily in that order. Now that's a lot of matches, so to make it all fit on one show, they'll all bowl 5-frame matches. Whoever's the higher seed will have their choice of starting lanes, and that'll be especially important today because the lane you start on will also be the lane you finish on, and you'll bowl one more frame on the lane you start and finish on. So the players with the option of starting lanes would be well advised to choose wisely. Now, when we get down to the final 2 players, we'll settle things in a full 10-frame match. But that's how we'll roll today. So let's get things started with match 1 between our 1 seed, Christian Manel, and our 8 seed, Hayes Gabriel. Somewhat different strategy in play in these 5-frame matches, as you will start and end on the same lane. Christian has opted to let Hayes start the match on the left lane. And that first shot misses the head pin to the right, and Hayes is left with the washout to begin. The 1-2-4-10. Just move your feet about 7 boards to the right. Throw your strike ball over your strike target. Let that ball float over to the Brooklyn side, and that ought to put you in the ballpark of making the washout. No, and he gave it a go, but just a little too full on the head pin. So that's an open frame to begin. Now, the other thing about these shorter matches is you don't have as much time to overcome a mistake. So we'll see if that proves especially costly to Hayes. Christian up on lane 40. And he begins with a soft 10 pin. In the pocket, but didn't quite make the corner as he would have liked. This is the first time we've gone with 5-frame matches on Prodigy. This should prove interesting today. And a conversion of the 10 pin for Christian, so a spare to start. And a quick 11-pin lead. We're bowling on the house shot today, so these lanes are gettable. Christian with a big 236 for his qualifying game. And a stone solid strike in the second frame to send a message. Watch this one again. Over about 14 at the arrows, out to about 7 at the break point, and 10 back. That'll get Hayes' attention. And Hayes puts one right in the pocket. Hayes playing the lanes a little differently. He's not swinging it out quite as much. Playing a little more straight up the boards. More of a down and in trajectory. About 7 at the arrows, out to about 6 at the break point. And right in the pocket. Well, he missed a little left at the arrows that time, and on the house shot, you've got a little more oil in there, so the ball never quite made the corner. And hits light, but he breaks down the 2-4-5 and is left with only the simple 2-pin. And he covers it easily. On the house shot, you just throw it a little farther to the right, which will make it hook a little bit more. So Christian, now with a strike working, has a chance to extend his lead to 21 if he can put a double on the board right here. Hello. Another good one by Christian. And he's off and running. You see he takes a relatively short approach, 5 steps, swings it out to about 5 that time. Ten in the pit. Nothing to it. Well, he pulled that one, and it never quite had the angle to snap out the corner pin, so he leaves a ringing 10. He starts with his heels up to the 12-foot row of dots. There's a good conversion of the 10-pin. He left one in the first frame on the right lane, a soft 10. So he's been around the pocket every single frame. But now Hayes has got to get busy. He's got to make up for that open in the first. And he's down to his final 2 frames now. But the ball doesn't quite get up. He's got the 2-4-5. Loses 3 pins in count. And that puts him in a bit of a bind now. He'll go cross lane at the 2-4-5. And covers it. Just the way we draw it up. Put the ball on the 2 and 5, and down they go. So let's project forward with 3 strikes in the 5th frame. We're treating the 5th as we would the 10th frame. So 3 strikes in the 5th. Hayes would end up with 96. And there's a ripper, and that gets him started. He pretty much needs all 3 in the 5th to have any kind of realistic chance of winning. We worked a little bit with Hayes today on just trying to keep his spine angle a little more upright. That keeps his center of gravity closer to him, so he keeps his legs under him and stay in balance. There's a light shaker that goes late. That 7-pin finally cooperates. Ball just tickles the head pin. Hit him thin and watch him spin. That's how it's done. One more strike here in the 5th would give him 96, and that'll at least force Christian to show up. All right, 9 will give him 95. So here's the situation. If Christian gets 8 on his first ball and whiffs the spare, we would have a tie. 9 on the first ball, and he wins. Anything less, and he'll have to get some more pins with his second shot. Strike will do it, though. And that is winner, winner, chicken dinner. So we'll take another look at this one. Again, he swings it out to about 6 and sweeps him off the pin deck. One more for good measure. But as it is, Christian is moving on. As we watch this second strike in the 5th. Again, as I mentioned, we're treating the 5th frame as we would the 10th in a normal 10-frame game. So he can finish with 119. Yikes. If he'd have done that on the first ball in the 5th, we'd be talking about possibly a very different outcome, but as it is, Christian is moving on. So our next match, well, this is a David and Goliath story. Rick and Hunter in match 2 next.
Hey, what gives?
What do you mean?
You embarrass me, man. I look like a fool out there.
Not my problem.
Must drink more milk.
So our number 1 seed gets past his opening match. And with the first match out of the way, we've still got a long ways to go. But these 5-frame matches will fly by in a hurry. As Hayes found out, an early mistake can prove costly because you don't have a lot of frames to make up ground. And now we turn our attention to the second match of the day. And this one's a real David and Goliath story. But if you think Hunter can't hang with Rick Haley, consider this. Earlier today in league, Hunter fired his first ever 600 series that included games of 187, 211, and 219 for a series total of 617. And he just shot 191 in qualifying. Rick, on the other hand, is about a 195 average player who bowls league at AMF Woodstock. And while their house shot is the same as ours, their synthetic lane surface is completely different than ours. So it would be a mistake to believe he's familiar with the lanes here at Roswell. So despite their differences in average, size, and experience, I think this is a pretty close matchup. And Hunter's the one who's had the hot hand today. Comes up a little light on the opening toss. And he turns to his son, Garrett, and says, "Didn't come back." And he's right. And he takes no time on the spare and covers the 2-pin. So now a familiar face to Prodigy viewers. Hunter on the right lane. And he tries to get the shaker 7 to go, but the 7, as if it's nailed down, stubbornly stands in defiance. But he has a simple cross-lane spare. Hunter, a good spare shooter. I wouldn't expect he'd have any problem with this. Oh, but he borrowed a little too much. And that ball never quite made it to get the 7, so an open frame to start. Hunter, a 191 game in his qualifying game, tied with Big Logan Mathis, and Hunter won the roll-off to get the higher seed. And another light 7-pin. This time the wall shot wouldn't quite go, so he'll have to try this one again. I'll bet he doesn't borrow too much this time. Taking a more direct route for the 7-pin this time, and covers it. So now Rick moves over to the right lane. Gets that one way out to the edge. And it didn't quite make it back either, so he's got the 2-5. Well, Rick has run the... Oh, look at this. He's taking no time once again. But covers the spare this time. Rick runs the youth program on Tuesday nights over at AMF Woodstock. They stopped having a youth league on Saturdays. They couldn't get anybody to show up. A lot of them came over to Roswell to bowl with us, but even before that, they were having a hard time with Saturdays. So they moved it to Tuesday night. There's a mixer. And Rick puts an X on the board. Our first strike this match. We'll see this one again. Rick will throw a lot of these. Plays about 12 at the arrows, out to about 7 at the break point. And just a nice, gentle hook. Just catches enough of the pocket. Oh, look at that 9-pin go late. I'm not sure what pin it was that got it. Maybe the 2? Let's see if we can pick it out. I think it might be the 2-pin. Over about 13, out to about 5, and watch this. 2-pin goes to the left wall and trips out the 9. Thank you very much. Now, this one to take the lead. And he gets the shaker. So with that little double, Hunter moves ahead in the match by 1 pin. That one didn't get out quite as wide as the one on the right lane, but came back just enough. Let's watch his reaction to it. Yep. He knew what that meant. All right, Rick can take the lead right back here with a strike in the 4th. And you heard him say, "Get there, ball," and it did. And now Rick puts himself in position where he can shut out Hunter with 3 strikes in the 5th. It was light, but it was enough. And he rips the rack this time. Sounded like he was saying, "Kill, kill, kill." Well, it did. Watch this. Light pocket right in the swish zone. Now a strike here, and he can shut out Hunter. But instead he misses right, gets 7, so now with a conversion he will finish with 115. Hunter can finish with 119 with 3 strikes in the 5th. But Hunter's going to need a double here. Rick converts the spare, so he finishes with 115. It's all down to Hunter. It's in his hands. He's got a double working. He needs 2 more strikes here in the 5th. Must strike right here. Oh, it hooked early on him. He got it out a little wider than he needed to, and on the house shot, that puts it in the dry area of the lane a little sooner. It started hooking a little earlier than he would have liked. It goes high, and Rick has won the match and will advance in our March Madness, April Badness bracket. Hunter, with a strike here on the fill ball, will shoot 97. All right, it's going to be 94. And Big Rick Haley has won the match, and he will advance to round 2 in our brackets. Coming up next, it's match 3 with little Rowand, Saunter, and Nolan Kent.
Every professional bowler has an arsenal of his own, special weapons for special lane conditions. Now, you can have your own arsenal in just 2 bowling balls from AMF. The AMF 3-Dot Classic in hard rubber for normal lane conditions. And now the AMF 3-Dot Classic in soft rubber for lanes that demand more traction. Hard rubber 3-Dot, soft rubber 3-Dot. The arsenal from AMF.
Well, this time, Goliath got David. But Hunter, playing the role of David in this case, did not go quietly. He fought his way back from an opening mistake and even took the lead in the match. But Rick stood his ground and piled up enough strikes to fend off his young challenger. But viewers of Prodigy know Hunter will be back. But right now, it's time we turn our attention to match number 3 in our March Madness, April Badness bracket. Little Rowand Saunter fired a .226 game in league today in his 3rd game. And then in the qualifying game for Prodigy, he backed it up with a 222. If you took the last 3 games he's bowled today, which includes a 165 for his second game in league, he'd have 613 for those 3 games. He probably doesn't even know that. And he probably doesn't even know that he just closed his qualifying game with 5 strikes in a row. But he did. And his opponent in this match is Nolan Kent. Nolan has been knocking on the door on Prodigy for a while. He's been bowling great in league lately, having a brush with perfection a few weeks ago, only to foul on his 11th strike in a row in what could have been a 300, and then following that up with another big string of strikes to open a game the following week in league. You could say Nolan is due, but that would be understating the obvious. Maybe today will be his day, but he'll first have to get past this young 10-year-old who today has been bowling like someone twice his age. Hello indeed. Rowand just plows one right through the pocket. The 9-pin goes late. Watch this. Swings it over 17 out to about 7. And high flush. My goodness. Remember, he finished his last game of qualifying with a 5-bagger, so that's 6 in a row for the young fella. All right, Nolan. Ooh, the half-8. And Nolan, it's enough to shake everything up. That one was right in the pocket. Ball deflects slightly. But a good shot to start. Nolan's been bowling awfully well lately, especially on the house shot. Easy spare. And he takes care of it. So the 2 players begin with marks, and we're even through the opening frame. Well, this is the first time we've done these 5-frame matches, and I got to tell you, I kind of like the pace of this. These matches move right along, and I think when we're bowling scratch, this is a good test. The little guys can hang with the big fellas for 5 frames. I'm not sure they can do it for a full 10, but this is a pretty good test. And Nolan rips the rack in the second frame. And we'll watch this one again as Nolan, with a 4-step approach, that crooked elbow release, plays down and in, and shreds the rack. All right, Rowand with a strike up in the first. And he gets another solid strike with a late 9-pin. Watch it again. He's in perfect balance when he lets it go. Swings it out to about 5. And see you later, pins. Come get some of this. All right, double up. And he rips the rack. Well, he just got this blue hammer drilled up last night. It's an 11-pound ball. Watch his footwork. These little guys, they start from the back and they take long strides and run up to the foul line to generate enough ball velocity. And it's working for Rowand, and I definitely think he likes this new blue hammer he got. My goodness. All he does is strike with it. Oh. Well, you don't expect a A ball like that to hit flat. That's the hypercell fuse that Nolan's throwing. He leaves the 5-7. Move your feet, 3 boards left. Throw that ball over your strike target again, and you ought to come pretty close to converting the 5-7 split. Maybe. How about it? Great shot. And that keeps Nolan in the match. If he'd suffered an open frame here in the third, he'd be in trouble. As it is, Rowand hasn't given him much wiggle room. There's a great conversion of the 5-7 split. And now Nolan moves over to lane 39, where he struck before. Gave that one a little extra lift at the bottom, but he pulled it slightly in the oil so it didn't finish as hard. Again, on the house shot, you've got a buildup of oil in the center of the lane, where the lane is a little drier on the outside. If you swing it right, get it out to the dry boards, it'll actually come hooking back harder. And he whiffs the 4-pin. And that's a big problem now, as Rowand takes a 32-pin lead into the 4th frame. The best Nolan can do now is 98 with 3 strikes in the 5th. Rowand may leave that behind in a cloud of dust before Nolan ever gets up to bowl in the 5th. How about another ripper? This kid is on fire. That's 9 in a row dating back to his game in qualifying. My goodness. Again, in perfect balance as he lets this one go, and he was pretty happy about that one. Let's trace this one all the way down the lane. Swings it out to about 7. It's in the swish zone again. Splits the 5 and 6. And that's the front 4. And my goodness gracious, he's got the first 5, and, well, we don't have 300 games in 5-frame matches, but we do have perfect 150s, and he might get one. Let's take a look at his 3 strikes on the left lane. They all look pretty similar, but how similar are they? We'll see with the 3 deep look. This is where they're stacked on top of each other. Look at that. That is a 10-bagger by a 10-year-old kid. Well, welcome to the real world, Rowand, where right-handers will leave 10 pins every now and then. Rowand has put this match away, so Nolan's going to finish out. And it really doesn't matter. He's just throwing the ball down the lane to finish out the game. But Rowand will be moving on to round 2. Nolan covers his spare. Rowand with a possible 139. And that one gets away from him. It's a 138 for the little guy. And how about that? A 138 to 78 final score. And Rowand with a big win ends Nolan's day. And we'll get to match 4 with Garrett and Logan when we return after this. Hey, it's me, Coach Randy, with exciting news about a new way you can help support Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Over the past couple of years, we've had a number of Prodigy fans say they'd love to offer something in payment for the Prodigy content seen each week on YouTube throughout the bowling season. Well, I'm pleased to announce that Prodigy is now on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, in case you're not familiar with it, Patreon is a platform where YouTube content consumers like you can connect directly with YouTube content creators like me and pledge a small amount of money each month to support the work that goes into creating the content that you enjoy watching. It's based on the age-old concept of patrons. About 30 to 40 hours of work goes into the production of each and every episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. So if you enjoy the content on Prodigy Bowlers Tour each week and you'd like to support the show, please check it out at patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. There are 4 affordable subscription tiers, and each one offers a different reward, up to and including sneak peeks of shows before they're released to the public, exclusive behind-the-scenes content that only members will ever see, and there's even a tier that will enable you to get all that and get your name in the credits each week as a producer of the show. You'll be helping me to be able to continue making the show each week and even reinvest some of the money into improving the show going forward. Thanks for checking it out, and thanks for supporting Prodigy Bowlers Tour. What a performance by Rowand Saunter. After finishing his qualifying game with a 5-bagger, he starts his match against Nolan Kent with a 5-bagger. That's a Vera Papa 10-bagger. Pretty impressive for such a little guy. And I know Nolan didn't like the taste of getting beat by a 4th grader. None of us would. But I imagine Rowand would have beat most anybody we could have thrown at him that match. So we move on to our 4th match in this March Madness April Badness bracket, as our 3 seed Garrett Haley is set to take on our 6 seed Big Logan Mathis. Big Logan told me before today's Prodigy event began that he was banking on using these final weeks of the 2018-19 season to close the gap and catch up to Nick Dissinger in wins on the season. But I gotta tell you, Garrett Haley seemed very confident today when we spoke. So obviously, something's gotta give in this match, because only one of these two is going to advance into round 2 to face a hungry little 10-year-old who's waiting in the wings to see who he's gonna bowl next. Well, we've seen this a few times today from players who expect the ball to corner and it never quite gets up to the head pin. So a light one. And Logan breaks down the bucket and leaves just the 5. An easy spare. Could have been a lot worse. As he goes to another pair of lanes to grab his spare ball off the rack to shoot the 5. And he takes care of it easily. And now Garrett Haley up on the right lane. Soft 10. Well, of course, we talk about the soft 10. The difference between the soft or weak 10 and the ringing 10, as we sometimes call another flavor of 10 pin, is the ringing 10. The 6 flies around the neck of the 10, and look at this, he missed it. Whereas the weak 10 or soft 10, the 6 just doesn't have the energy to go, and it just lays down on the gutter. And Garrett disappointed with the first ball, but more disappointed with the second, as now he's open in the first frame, trailing by 11. And once again, on the left lane, the ball doesn't quite get up. And he breaks down the 2-4-5 and has just the 4-pin. As something fell over in the rack that just set on lane 40, so they're having to cycle the machine. And you'll notice Garrett, when he throws at his spares sometimes, will throw a slight backup ball. He's been working on this release. And It has served him well so far today. We saw him use it on the 4-pin. We might see him again later use it. We'll see. But these two, pretty similar rev rate. They certainly go about it in very different ways. Logan with the big high backswing. Garrett a more controlled swing, but they both get plenty on the ball. And there's a weak 10. It's almost inconceivable that Logan could leave a weak 10. But it looks like he was a little out of balance as he stuck at the foul line. We've had some problems with these approaches these last few weeks. And he misses the 10-pin. So both players with an early mistake. Garrett gift wraps an open in the first frame. And then in the second, Logan gives the gift right back to Garrett. And now just one pin separates these two. Oh, and the messenger blows out the 10. He had the 7-10 peeking at him briefly. He ripped out the 7. And then the head pin came off the left wall to get the 10. Watch the head pin. The one in front. It'll go to the left wall and wipes out the 10. We'll see his reaction to it. All right, Garrett up on the right. And there's one right in the hole. Tell you what, the thing I like best about Garrett's game, look at how low he gets at the foul line. Deep knee bend, nice and low. He holds that position. And you very rarely see Garrett out of balance. 10 back. Well, I kind of figured this match would be close, and it is. He was urging it on. Get up, get up. We'll watch his footwork, which is pretty impeccable. Anytime you get that 10 pin to fall inward like that, you know you threw it well. With a few choice words for Logan. I'm sure he was just rooting him on, right? Whatever it was, Logan just shredded the rack. Watch this one. He is going to saw out the 5-pin. And it's going to whistle over and take out the 7. And that messenger comes back just in case the 10-pin was even thinking about standing. And another ripper. Logan with a possible 118. Garrett, if he strikes out, can shoot 119. So Logan can't shut Garrett out, but he can sure put some pressure on him. You can't throw it any better than that. We'll watch him and his gold shoes. In case anyone's wondering, those are Lynn's shoes. Not sure if they still sell those or not, but... Oh, the ringing 10. And that's going to leave the door open for Garrett. But Garrett's going to need the first strike in the 5th. Well, he whiffs the 10 pin. We're seeing players get a little careless with some of their spares today, but it comes down to this. Garrett must strike on this ball right here. If he doesn't, Logan will be moving on. Oh, he liked it as soon as he let it go. And for good reason. Watch this one again. Once again, he gets nice and low at the foul line. Ball is real close to his ankle. Max leverage and snaps out the 10. And you watch him here. I'll bet he's happy. All right. He needs 8 here to lock it up. And 10 will do. So here's the winning ball right here that sends Garrett into round 2. Another one that snaps out the corner pin. Garrett will show you his emotions. Possible 119. All right, it's going to be 117. That will be a 9-pin victory for Garrett over Logan. So we move to round 2 and our 5th match of the day. Christian Manel and Rick Haley go at it next.
If you got a steady date or
if you're going back,
if you want a swinging time that
never is a drag.
come on, go
Bowling, take your baby bowling. Everybody's bowling.
What about me?
If you want a place to go where
Time will really fly.
or take your baby out tonight and
You'll be scoring high.
just take her
Bowling, take your baby bowling. Have more fun, go bowling.
What about me? No wheels.
I've got a car.
Well, that match between Garrett and Big Logan figured to be a colossal battle of the heavyweights, and it lived up to its billing. But when it came down to it, Garrett threw the shots he had to have in the 5th frame, and in the process, became the first player today to overcome an early mistake to survive the opening match. But who's to say what might have happened if that ringing 10 would have carried for Big Logan on his 2nd ball in the 5th? If that goes, you never know. Maybe Garrett squeezes it a little when he gets up. That will remain a mystery forever. But as it is, it's Garrett who's advancing. Now that we're through round 1 of our March Madness April Badness bracket, we see that so far, the higher seeds have all survived. So in these upcoming semifinal matches, it'll be the 1 seed versus the 4 seed, and the 2 seed versus the 3 seed. So it's time we turn our attention to match 5. We see our 1 seed, Christian Manel, who defeated Hayes Gabriel in the opening match, will face our 4 seed, Rick Haley, who dispatched Hunter Moffett in round 1. This time, Rick will have to pick on someone his own size. And Christian is liable to have his hands full with Rick. One of these 2 players will be bowling for the championship today. Who will it be? We'll know in about 10 minutes. Both of these players know how to win. I expect this will be a close match. And Christian rips them apart on the opening toss. That was almost a can opener. Watch this. Short little steps. Over about 17 at the arrows. He swings it out to about 11. And down they go. All right, Rick. Now he was trying to urge it to hold or hook on over to the Brooklyn side. But now he's faced with the 310 baby split. Put the ball on the right side of the 3-pin. You're better off playing this down the left side of the lane. The farther right you play it, it opens up the space between the 3 and the 10 and makes it that much more difficult. I expect Rick will play this down the left side of the lane. He takes no time to set his feet. And that goes straight in the gutter. He just picked the ball off the rack and started walking. A little surprising. We saw him do that on a couple of spares in his earlier match. So I don't know, maybe that's the way he shoots his spares, just by feel. But you got to set your feet first. He was saying hook, but it's not listening to him. And he leaves the 110. I call this the naked washout, because you don't have the 2 or the 4 or the 8 or some of the other extras that can come with a washout, just the plain old 110. And once again, he doesn't set his feet. And he throws it in the moat.
Are you doing this on purpose? No.
And you heard Christian say, are you doing this on purpose? And Rick immediately said no. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but open to start for Rick, and that's not like him. So Christian with a strike up in the first frame and a chance to get off to a big lead early. And that pesky 7-pin just will not budge. He could have moved out to a 34-pin lead. But as it is, he's got a fairly routine spare, the 7-pin. He'll move over to the right side of the lane and go cross lane at it. And he covers the 7. Well, no harm, no foul. He doesn't extend his lead, but it doesn't shrink any either. Since he was on a strike, he doesn't lose any pins in count. Once again, the ball just sails. We've seen this time and again on the left lane today. It's just not finishing. We've seen a number of players come up light on lane 39. This time Christian just, I think he threw it a little too hard. It just never had a chance to get up. And he makes the 1-2 on the right side. You would rather hit on the left side of the head pin and touch both pins with the ball, but a spare is a spare is a spare, and he'll take that one. And now Rick going to try to stop the bleeding here. Well, this time the ball listened to him. He said, get them all. And it did. That was like a train going through the station. And he said that second spare shot just slipped off his hand. Nothing slipped that time. That one was high flush. Now he needs some more of those. Yeah, he said, come on, hook. And it's still labored to get to the pocket and just got enough of it to get a wall shot. Watch this, a ball just doesn't want a corner on lane 39. He's going to hit light on the head pin. It'll go to the left wall, come back and get the 4, 5, and 7. The classic wall shot. Sometimes the ball listens, sometimes it doesn't. That time it did, and he needed that double to get back in it. Christian motioning with his left hand. He knew that was going Brooklyn or high. He leaves just the 3-6. It could have been worse. But his big lead is now down to just 10. And look at this. If he makes this spare and both players strike out in the 5th, we have a tie. He needed to cover it. He did. So now this match is going to come down to who can perform in the 5th frame. Pretty much as you would expect with two players who know how to win like these two do. But now let's see if Christian can figure out the mystery of lane 39 and get the ball to get up to the pocket. Nope. And now he's flummoxed. Because earlier the ball was getting up. The 2, 4, 5, 7, you can make it on either side of the 2-pin. We recommend shooting at the right side. And there it is. Playing it down the right side of the lane, you open up the possibility of a chop. But he covers the spare. And so with that mark in the 10th, assuming he gets any kind of reasonable count here, Rick is going to need the first strike in the 5th. Had to have that one. Had to have that one to put some pressure on Rick. It's not quite what he wanted, but it's good enough. So that gives him 89. Rick, trailing by 3, must strike on this ball, or Christian will be bowling for the championship. Oh, and the 4 wiggles and wiggles and wiggles, but that's all. And Christian has won the match. And that was a nail biter. Rick covers the spare, but he's going to finish with 85 if he strikes on the fill ball. And that's going to come up just a little short. Those 2 opens in the 1st and 2nd frames are what did him in, and we've seen this time and again today. In these short 5-frame matches, you just don't have as much time to cover up a mistake. And Rick made a couple of them. But there's a strike to finish it off, and that will be an 89-85 win for Christian Manel, who will bowl in the championship match against either Rowand Saunter or Garrett Haley. We'll find out who next.
When pro bowlers Johnny Petraglia, Judy Sutar, and Tommy Hudson helped design these Brunswick balls, they put more than their names on the line. They put their reputations and their futures on it. Because every time they step up to bowl, they bowl to win. That's why everything they know about bowling and everything we know was built into these signature balls from Brunswick. The Signature Series, a new breed of bowling balls born to win. Check out the whole family of winners at your Brunswick dealer.
入らない。でも、あれ、どうだ。 次がストライクならパーフェクト達成よ。パーフェクト。
まずは落ち着いて。わ、抜けない。しまった。
1本？
この人ソフトバンクユーザーなんです。
とすると1本の10倍は10本ですからパーフェクト達成です。
ソフトバンクだけずるいぞ。ごっつぁんです。
ソフトバンクユーザーならヤフーショッピングでポイント10倍。
実質 10% オフと同じだもんね。
わ、また
ソフトバンク。
なんなんだあいつ。
So it was a close one, and Rick Haley had a chance to win it at the end, but Christian Manel survives his semifinal match and has punched his ticket to the championship match. Now it's just a question of who he's going to bowl. And in match 6, we have an interesting matchup between our 3-seed Garrett Haley and our 2-seed little Rowand Saunter, who is the hottest bowler in the bowling center right now. A few moments ago, as Garrett was throwing his warm-up balls and Rowand was getting set to throw his, we had this little exchange between these two.
Hey, Rowand. He's not going to go easy. That's what I wanted to hear.
So the gauntlet has been thrown down and Garrett has been warned. Garrett's challenge this match is simple. Can you beat a 4th grader? Although I tell you what, Rowand is no ordinary 4th grader. Now that one hooks all the way over to the Brooklyn side and he leaves a 7-pin. That one actually bounced in front of and around the 7. This blue hammer that he just got drilled up last night. Hammer doesn't even make this ball anymore, but he found one online. It's 11 pounds. He takes the long way around to convert it, but that's a spare to start. He gave it all the body English he could. It's a spare. All right, Garrett up on the right. And there's a powerful strike to start this match 6, the final semifinal match, to seed our players into the final championship match. Swings that thing out to about 4 or 5 and brings it back like it's on a string. All right, he can take a 10-pin lead with a double here. Ooh, that was a pretty good shot. Denied. 10-pin stops him. Now we may see Garrett's backup ball at this. He likes to throw that thing at a lot of his spares, especially his right side spares. He's been working on this release. And it just stayed on the lane. So they remain even. Well, I thought these 5-frame matches would give the little guys a chance to hang with the big kids. So far, it's worked pretty well. And Rowand goes high flush on the right lane to keep this match deadlocked. Watch this. The long running approach to generate some ball speed. Over about 18 at the arrows, out to about 9. And the 7-pin, the last one to go. As we see his reaction to it, he watches anxiously as it strikes, and he's, okay, let's get another one now. He can take the lead by 10 with a double here. my goodness. I'm not sure I've ever seen a Brooklyn Stone 8. How did that happen? Well, let's see it right here. Ball will cross over. What happens to the 2-pin? He actually took it to the left of the 8-pin. How about that? Goes with his plastic ball to cover the spare and takes care of it easily. So, Garrett Haley with a spare working. And leaves the 10. So he cedes a slight lead to Rowand here in the third frame. Tell you what, that would be some story if Rowand were to get to the championship match, huh? And that backup ball saved Garrett that time. He might have missed to the left if it was going straight. We've got us a close one.
Welcome to the latest episode of Can You Be the Fourth Grader?
Oh my goodness. And he shows his college colors. He just signed with University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Watch this. 7-10 wants to stay up, but they go down late. And we'll see his reaction to it. He didn't get quite as low at the line that time as most of his shots. And the ball didn't quite get up like it has for him. Through the nose for Rowand this time. He breaks up the 3-10 split, leaves just the 3. So he drops a pin in count, and we're back to an even match. Assuming he can convert the 3-pin. And he does. So I don't know how many of you would have predicted that Rowand and Garrett would be all knotted up heading into the 5th and final frame of their match, but I'd say this is an interesting one right here. Oh, this time the ball doesn't drive through like it had in the past, and Rowand has left the 5-7 split. What a time for this. All right. Well, he just wants to move his feet 3 boards to the left and throw this ball right over his strike target, and it should finish right about where you need it to make the 5-7. He's checking his feet. Here we go. Oh, he pulled it. So he puts the ball between them, and now Garrett is in the driver's seat. He needs just 9 pins, and that'll punch his ticket for the championship match. And there's all 10. So Garrett congratulates Rowand on a fine showing today. But Garrett is moving on. Watch this last shot again. You can't throw it any better than this. 10 in the pit. How about this one? If he leaves that 1 ball sooner, well, I'm not sure. We'd have to go back and do the math, but might have changed things just a bit. But in any case, Rowand's Cinderella ride comes to an end here in match 6. It's going to be Garrett who moves on to the championship match. And he's going to face Christian Manel. It's Christian and Garrett for the title today on Prodigy when we return next.
Calvin is like one of the most competitive people on this planet.
Mocha is always in your face, trying to talk about what she can do and what you can't do.
Rafael is so competitive. That's very easy to push his buttons. That's the number one reason I do it.
Send in the security guard.
Excuse me. Stay right there. What's going on right now?
I want to meet you. Okay.
You're about to lose, bro. Yeah, if you get one more, what are you gonna do about it? Oh, wow. What, dude?
We have a perfect score on lane 14. Congratulations on your 300. Stay put. We have a prize for you. $3,000.
Congratulations! You did it!
You voted 300, bro. You voted perfect game.
Oh, hell yeah.
You voted perfect game.
You just won $3,000. What? How does that make you feel? Rich? Are you gonna share this prize with your friends?
No, of course not.
Are you a professional bowler? Do you bowl? You just bowled a perfect game.
Hey, sorry, I was watching. You didn't actually bowl a 300.
He did?
I'm pretty sure I did bowl 300.
No, you did not bowl a 300. I was keeping track.
I'm pretty sure I did.
I've never bowled a perfect game.
I'm sorry for you.
You didn't bowl a 300. I had my eye on your guys' score. You didn't bowl a 300.
I'll challenge you right now.
I don't need a challenge. I don't need a challenge. I need someone to verify this for me.
Can I get security in lane 14?
Hey, for the past 6 months. I'm sorry. I bowl here constantly.
Excuse me. Stay right there.
What's going on right now?
This guy was about to accept a $3,000 check for
Hey,
me.
don't talk to him. Talk to me. Did you bowl the 300?
I guess. The computer says so.
He did not bowl a 300.
He did.
No, I'm pretty good. You're about to steal $3,000 for something you didn't do? Wow.
There's nothing worse than stealing from a bowling alley.
Oh, really?
I can think of a few things worse than that, but...
A lot of things.
Guys, I get it. Go. Hey. Ma'am.
Are you being for real? Because I'm being serious. Oh my goodness, this is so my God.
Dude, I got you so good. Waiting so There's a camera there, another camera there. Okay.
For your participation, Bolero is going to give you a 300.
Thank you, Bolero.
Thank you, Bolero, for an awesome time. Thank you.
Well, he may not be our ultimate winner today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, but I'd say Rowand Saunter stole the show. Think about this. He finished league this morning with a 226. Then in the qualifying game in today's Prodigy event, he opened with a 222. Then in his first 5-frame match, he began with the front 5 strikes in a row. Now, if you string his 2 5-frame matches together and extrapolate enough shots to make a full 10-frame game, he'd have shot a 224. So you could say his last 3 games bowled were 226, 222, and 224. For those without a calculator in their head, that's 672 at the age of 10. Let that one sink in for a minute. Meanwhile, Garrett Haley managed to sneak past the little guy, so it's Garrett Haley who's moving on to the championship match, where he'll face our 1 seed today, Christian Manel for all the cheese. Well, there isn't actually any cheese. There's no money. Nothing, really. You do get to sign the coveted trophy pin, and that entitles you to come back at the end of the season and bowl in our Tournament of Champions. And the winner of that gets to keep the coveted trophy pin, which for the last 2 seasons was then given away. So, will that turn into a tradition? I guess we'll find out in June. But right now it's time to start this match. Christian up on lane 39. And as you see from the score sheet, we're bowling a full 10-frame match this time to decide the champion. Christian comes up a little high on his opening throw and leaves the 4-pin. Hard and straight at it. That's the best way. And so a spare in the first frame for Christian. And now Garrett will begin his match on lane 40. And that one cuts through the nose sharply, and he leaves a tricky little cluster here, the 3-6-9. Couple of ways of shooting at this. You either can hook at it. You want to hit solid on the face or a little to the right of the 3-pin to get the 6 as well and drive out the 9, or he's going to go a backup ball at it. Come in from the left side, and he just gets it. That was a little thinner on the left side than he would have liked, but once they're down, they're down. So, both players with a spare to start. And that's more like what he's looking for. A strike in the second frame for Garrett. We'll watch this one again. Over about the third arrow, out to about 7 or 8. Little deflection on that ball. We're just not seeing the ball finish real strong on 39. Not sure why. But that one finished strongly, and that's a solid strike in the second for Christian. So these two monkey see, monkey do so far. A spare and a strike to start. Which one will be the first to draw blood by getting a double? Christian hopes it's him right here. But once again, this left lane, this pesky left lane, the ball just doesn't want to face up. It's as if there's a pool of oil right in front of the 1-3 pocket. He leaves the 2-8. You want to hit it pretty flush on the front to drive that back pin, the sleeper 8, out. And he takes care of it. So the baton is passed to Garrett. Maybe he can be the first one to notch a double this match. Oh, that was a little high, but he managed to trip the 4 this time. And that gives Garrett a 10-pin lead. Watch this. It'll be the 2-pin. The third one from the left. It's going to go to the left wall and just ticks the 4 and knocks it out. Oh, you heard him say, oh, that was too good. He knew that was sweet as soon as it left his hand. Watch his footwork. And that one, like a hot knife through butter, going through the pins. No deflection at all there. All right, Christian down by 20. He needs to answer the bell here. But once again, that pesky 7-pin refuses to go. Well, he had this one earlier and made it. He'll go cross lane. Oh, he pulled it. And that one fell into the gutter, and guess what? When that happens, when the ball is in the gutter and bounces out, any pinfall you get does not count. So that's an open frame for Christian, and now the lead is 32. He says, let's go. I don't care if it's the 4th frame. Well, it's actually the 5th frame. But that has the makings of Christian's signature "Who do you think you are? I am" moment. Maybe we need to get some t-shirts printed up that say, I don't care if it is the 4th frame. How about a strike in the 5th frame by both players, and Garrett now with 4 in a row, and he's just piling on the strikes now. And he turns to Christian and says, really? And that won't set well with Christian. Through the nose for Garrett. There's, I don't want to call it bad blood, but some of these kids are not big fans of Garrett because he can be a bit of a showboat sometimes. But I will tell Christian right now that if that gets under your skin and you let it bother you, you are in for a long, frustrating life in bowling, because there are a lot of guys that will play to the crowd and get under your skin, and if Garrett does it, it's only because he likes to have fun doing it.
You got it! Hey!
No, we're not kidding, Christian. That's the 7-10, the granddaddy of them all. You want to see how to make it? Here's Charlie Bostic the other day. That's how you make the 7-10. He did that over, I believe that was at Brunswick Zone Austell. But you got to hit one of them. So an open frame, and the lead is now 54. Well, going back to the point about Garrett being a bit of a showboat, I'll tell you what, one of the greatest players who ever shoed up a pair of bowling shoes, Marshall Holman, on the PBA Tour, his nickname was H-Dog, as in hot dog. Some players will play that fiddle just to get under your skin. And look at this, Christian now with the 2-8-10. He has a history with this split. He left it in the decisive final frame of our Tournament of Champions. It cost him a win there. He hates it when this stands up. And there are a couple of schools of thought shooting at this. You either take the count and just go for the 2-8, hope something bounces out. It rarely will. Or you go at the left side of the 2, either throw a backup or try to bounce the 2 off the wall and back into the 10 and over to the 8. And once again, here's Charlie Bostic a few weeks ago shooting at it. And that's how he made it. Watch it again. This is very rarely made. Christian gets 9 out. That is only going to grow Garrett's lead to 65. And this championship match is rapidly becoming a rout. Christian now with 3 open frames. Garrett with a 4-bagger. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about all this talk about Garrett being a hot dog and all that. I've seen him. He's flamboyant. He likes to play to the crowd and have fun. But he's also a pretty charming guy. I like him. He's a good coach. He likes to help people. What's not to like about Garrett? I guess you don't like getting beat by him. Yeah, I get that. Nobody likes getting beat. But be a good sport. There's another solid strike in the switch zone. And Garrett is just going to run away and hide this match. Well, the University of Wisconsin at Whitewater is getting a good one in Garrett, I'll tell you that much. All right, Christian trying to make this respectable in the closing frames. There, that's what he wanted. I'm sure he's thinking, where was that a little earlier? Solid hit. I don't know if it's been adrenaline or what, but it just seemed to me like Christian was throwing the ball a little extra hard today. Pulled that one and still tripped the 4. So he finally gets a double. We'll watch his footwork. He takes tiny little steps. He gets a good result, though. Trips the 4 and gets a solid strike. Now Garrett. And with that strike, he puts away his first ever title on Prodigy Bowlers Tour on this March Madness, April Badness event with the bracketed competition. I guess we'll have to call him the March Madman, or the baddest of the bad, or maybe his badness. Garrett doesn't come over and bowl Prodigy with us all that often. He's certainly part of the Prodigy family, living nearby in Woodstock and coming over occasionally. But he's been frustrated until today. There's a good strike in the 10th. Last time he was on Prodigy, he kind of laid an egg and wasn't real happy about it, but he came over today with newfound confidence, and he told me, I feel like I'm going to win today, and he has done it. 2 more strikes, 257. Oh, he hit his ankle. That had to hurt. Man.
Did that hurt?
Somebody asked him, did that hurt? He said, yeah. Christian just finishing out here. Well, Garrett loses some count. He can still shoot 237 with a spare. He's just going to throw his back up at it from the left side of the lane. That's 236. A good game. A winning game. And he ties Christian for the high game of the day in this Prodigy event. Christian with a 236 in the qualifying game. And Garrett with a 236 in the championship match. So Christian with 1 more ball, and we will call it a day. And there's a 4-pin, so he will finish with a 171, and he storms off, not a happy camper. It's Garrett's day today. We'll get him to sign the coveted trophy pin and visit with him when we return right after this. Now, bring the spirit of Prodigy Bowlers Tour to your bowling center with Prodigy Bowlers Tour t-shirts and sportswear, including collared shirts with the Prodigy logo printed on the back to show that you support junior bowling. Check out the entire assortment of Prodigy t-shirts in the Brownswick store. Visit PRODIGYBowlersTour.com to see the selection. That's PRODIGYBowlersTour.com.
Introducing Rage from Columbia 300. Let it out.
Now, from the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom, with reports from around the world, across the nation, and up your alley. This is Prodigy Striking News. At the recent Storm Youth Championships in Rohnert Park, California, Prodigy's Charles Bostic won a bronze medal in the U20 boys medium pattern competition and finished 7th overall out of 69 youth bowlers in his division. But the coolest moment came during the Pro-Am Friday night. While the rest of America was watching Jason Belmonte lead the world team to victory in the USA versus the World Showdown on FS1 in an event that had been pre-recorded, Jason Belmonte was actually at the Storm Youth Championships to bowl in the Pro-Am. But an injury to his middle finger forced him to the sideline, so he merely coached his amateur teammates. But it also forced the event organizers to scramble to find a suitable replacement to sub for Belmo in the Pro-Am. And the player they selected to bowl in place of Jason Belmonte? That was Charlie Bostic. Dateline Birmingham, Alabama. At this past weekend's USA Bowling South Regional, Prodigy Bowlers Tour participants Aiden Reynolds, Antonio Hairston Jr., and Christian Knowles, along with their teammates Carson Barnes and Blake McReynolds on the team known as the Pocket Assassins, took first place in the U15 age division and have advanced to the National Championship in Detroit this July, which will be held in conjunction with Junior Gold. The team they outlasted in the championship match was anchored by none other than Bolero Roswell's star player and the current reigning Junior Gold U15 Girls National Champion, Annalise O'Brien. With the Pocket Assassins now taking one of the 16 spots in the U15 National Championship Tournament, that means we now count 6 teams that will be competing in USA Bowling this summer with a Prodigy connection. In addition to the Pocket Assassins, the 2 teams known as the Pin Crushers, the U12 team that includes Hunter Moffitt, and the U15 team that includes Josh Collins and Matthew Bruce will be there. Also a team that includes Jacob Ballinger and Bryant Griffith won the USA Bowling Regional in Texas. Another team with Dylan Hubley, who was on the 10-Pin Alley episode of Prodigy this season, won the Regional in Kentucky, and they'll be in Detroit. And finally, Braden Sorrentino, who's never actually been on the show, but did bowl in the Prodigy Bowlers Tour qualifier when we took the show to Brunswick Zone Austell in early 2017, hooked up with a team that won the regional in Florida. So that's 6 USA Bowling teams that are going to Detroit with at least one player on the roster with a connection to Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And we'll be rooting for all of them. That's it from the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom. Keep the ball rolling, and the hits will just keep on coming. So our first ever Prodigy Bowlers Tour March Madness April Badness brackets come to a conclusion. And this time, the crown goes to Garrett Haley, who makes his first trip to the Prodigy Winners Circle on the strength of a 236-171 victory over a dejected Christian Manel. But I don't think Garrett is holding back his enthusiasm one bit.
Get a load of this. Garrett, sensing the moment,
your products where they belong. I'm just saying.
Goes with the product placement.
You gotta rock the EVI, you know. College. Warhawk Pride.
We haven't really had an opportunity to visit with you on Prodigy before, but you bowl league over at AMF Woodstock, and you just signed with
University of Wisconsin Whitewater. Warhawk Pride.
He's got the Warhawk Pride going, and you actually start this fall. And today you just won your first time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Way to go. And you know what goes along with that.
Pin.
Yeah, you get to sign the coveted trophy pin.
Do you have a pin?
There's a whole box full of them in a variety of colors.
Gotta go with purple. You know,
Okay,
purple,
yeah, he's going with purple to match the, yeah, I can see that.
Gotta rock it.
Gotta find a spot. Very daring, going at the neck where it'll get rubbed off.
I plan on winning at the end of the year, so I'm not worried.
Be sure and date it too. Today is 3/30/2019. A date that will live in Prodigy history as the day Garrett Haley finally broke through and won. Congratulations. It's our Prodigy bowlers, Christian and Big Logan.
Two of the players that Garrett vanquished en route to his title today felt the need to hit something. So rather than hitting Garrett, which I think might have been their first choice, just kidding, they opted for the driving range, which planted the seed for a potential future Prodigy Golfers Tour, or at least a Prodigy Bowlers Tour golf outing sometime in the future. We'll keep you posted. But one thing we discovered on this afternoon, which is, as golfers go, Big Logan and Christian make much better bowlers. Tiger and Rory and Ricky and Cooch and Jordan and Mickey Phil and all the others on the PGA Tour have nothing to worry about from these two, believe me.